All right, so we're now going to go over the one of the quizzes that you guys just got back. I'm going to go over version C. Remember, all the versions are very similar to each other, so even if you're not having this exact one, watch and see how I solve this question and then apply it to the numbers that are given to you on your quiz. I'm not going to go through questions 1 or 2 because those are pretty basic, and questions 3 and 5 are going to ultimately solve questions 1 or 2 or show us how to solve questions 1 or 2. So we're only going to focus on questions 3, 4, and 5. So let's go ahead and go through question number 3. So remember, when we are solving our linear equations, the first thing that we want to do is we want to simplify as much as we can. So when I see this multiplication over here, and remember, I know it's multiplication because I see these parentheses. So when I see this, I'm going to go ahead and distribute this negative 20 in. So I'll get 21 is equal to, well, negative 20 times f is going to give me negative 20f. And negative 20 times negative 6 is plus 120. And I still have this plus 9f on the outside here. Remember, though, you need to multiply the negative in. Some of you are forgetting to do that, and you're writing 20f and minus 120. So don't forget about your signs. And then we look and say, okay, is there any more I can simplify? And remember, since this is all on the same side of our equation, if I draw this line down here, everything on the right-hand side is all on the same side, so I don't need to use inverse operations. I can combine like terms. So negative 20f plus 9f, we add the numbers out front, so negative 20 plus 9 times f. And then when we do this, we can go ahead and say, okay, they're different signs, so I can look at them as both positive numbers. I take the smaller number and subtract it from the larger. That gives me 11. And I look and say, well, what was the larger number original sign? It was negative. So that means my final answer must be negative. So this is going to give me 21 is equal to negative 11f plus 120. Right? You were allowed to use a calculator in this last quiz, so no one should have made any mistakes with that. Right? Then from here, we're going to go ahead and isolate our variable. So that means since my variable is already on its own on the right-hand side, I'm going to move my constant to the left-hand side. And to do that, we're going to use subtraction, the inverse operation of addition. So now we have 21 minus 120 is going to give me negative 99. Let me write this in a different color. So it's going to give me negative 99 is then equal to negative 11f. And then my last thing I need to do is isolate my variable f. But when I do that, I need to make sure I'm dividing by the negative 11. Some of you were just dividing by positive 11 and weren't giving me the right answer. So negative 99 divided by negative 11 is going to give me 9. So f is then equal to 9. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to the next problem. So for this problem here, a lot of you were trying to treat this like it was an addition problem, like 4/3 plus p plus 6 over 8. And you were trying to find common denominators. And you can still answer the question correctly by doing common denominators, but I'm going to show you a different method, which I think is a lot easier, more straightforward, and less thinking that even goes involved to get started. And when we have two ratios that are equal to each other, they're called a proportion. And we can show that proportions are equal through cross multiplication. So 1/2, and if I give you the fraction 4/8, well, if these are equal, we can cross multiply with the one numerator with the other denominator. And you'll see that it gives us equal products. So 8 is equal to 8. So since we know that cross multiplying is equal when fractions are proportional, so when they're equal to each other, we can go ahead and multiply our cross products. So we could do 4 times 8. I'm going to write this over here just so I have space. So 4 times 8 is equal to, and we know that they're equal because it flat out tells us with the equal sign right here. All right, and it's equal to 3 times p plus 6. Now when you do this, just make sure that you write that binomial, which is two terms of p plus 6, in parentheses, because we need to distribute that 3 into everything. So 4 times 8 is 32. We'll distribute the 3 in, so it's equal to 3p plus 18. And now we're just going to go ahead and solve for a variable. So our variable is already on the right-hand side by itself with no other variable that we need to worry about combining with. So that means I'm going to move my constants to the left-hand side. And 32 minus 18 is 14. So now we're left with 14 is equal to 3 times p. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide each side by 3 to isolate our p. And p is then equal to 14/3. And that would be your final answer. All right. And then there's one more question. And this one question kind of has a lot going on with it. With problems 1, 2, and 3 were all kind of part of this one problem. So we're going to go ahead and do question number 5. So remember, the first thing that we look to do is we look to simplify everything that we can. So on both sides, I see I have these parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this negative 2 in. I'm going to get negative 10 minus 4y is then equal to. And now I'm going to distribute this 3 in. So remember, you need to distribute the 3 into both. So 30y minus 24. And now I'm going to distribute the negative 6 in, minus 6y minus 42. Right, now I have variables on both sides, constants on both sides, but what I'm going to do first is see, can I simplify the sides even further? Well, negative 10 minus 4y I can't do anything with. So that means it's already simplified as much as it can. However, on this side, I have like terms with the negative 6y and a positive 30y, and I have like terms with minus 24 and minus 42. So I'm going to go ahead and combine all of my like terms. So negative 10 minus 4y is equal to, well, 30 minus 6 gives me 24y, and negative 24 minus 42 gives me negative 66. All right, now that I've simplified everything I could on both sides of my equation, now I need to move my variables to one side and my constants to the other. I highly suggest that you do these step by step because a lot of you are trying to do it all at once and you are making mistakes with trying to move too many things at one time. So we can do minus 10 minus 28y is equal to, well, this gives us 0, negative 66. And now I'm going to go ahead and move my constant to the other side since my variable is on the left. So I'm going to add that over. And now I get negative 28, negative 28y is equal to negative 56. And then my last step is dividing each side by negative 28, dividing each side by negative 28. So I'm going to write the answer over here. So y is equal to 56 over 28. I'm going to get rid of the negatives because the negative divided by negative is positive. And then the last thing we have to do is we have to reduce. All right. So if we look at here, we could go ahead and reduce this step by step. Or if you know 56 divided by 28 is actually equal to 2, you can go ahead and say that your answer is y is equal to 2. All right. But in some of the questions, we needed to reduce. So if it didn't divide into it evenly, you can just go ahead and divide by 2 in this case because both of those are even. So 56 divided by 2 is 28, and 28 divided by 2 is 14. And then from there, hopefully you can see that this does divide evenly into it and will give us a whole number of 2. All right, that is it for this video. If you need any help, please make sure you're reaching out.